Welcome back to the channel. So I'm back to working on the van again. This is going to be episode number 13 of my van build series. I'm not doing anything crazy today. I'm just going through some upgrades, some things I had to fix, and one thing I'm going to do, I'm putting in an OBD2 reader slash tach. I bought it as a tachometer, an RPM gauge, if you will. So I'm going to do that. But I'm going to start this thing off by washing this thing. Well, enough of that. So first things first, I've been using this thing, and the number one problem I had with this van was I didn't have any cup holders. So when I got this thing, I didn't have the doghouse cover. So I went to the junkyard and I have now got a doghouse cover. So I'll just grab you here and I'll show you. So this is the doghouse cover. Before I had nothing here, but now I have a glove box, which is incredibly handy because it's weird not having a glove box. Like, where do you put your insurance papers? Like, there's just stuff you want to put in the glove box every now and again. To have nothing, it's just weird. Like, anyways, and no cup holders too. Like, where do you put your phone when you're driving when you have nowhere to put it, and you have obviously nowhere to put a drink? So I've been sticking them in the back of these seats back here in the pocket. Anyways, I went to the junkyard, got this cup holder thing, and it has changed the van dramatically, the driving experience of the van dramatically, because it also allowed one other thing that was a real problem before. So I got a little FM adapter here. Nothing fancy, but it plugs into the cigarette lighter. And before, I didn't have a cigarette lighter, so I couldn't even have my FM adapter. So I was listening to the crappy stock radio, or places where I didn't have like radio reception. I just had a little Bluetooth speaker on top of the dash, which was like barely loud enough to hear it over like because I have to drive the windows on because I got no AC. So you're at highway speeds, the engine's loud, the windows are wide open. You can just barely hear a podcast or music unless it's like a really loud song. So anyways, for 35 bucks at the junkyard and not that much work, I'm so glad to have my cup holders. So one other thing that I needed to change was these lights back here. So I'm gonna hop back there and show you what and why I had to get new lights. Okay, so these new lights, I bought them on Amazon. I think I paid 29 bucks. They have one setting, two settings, and they are substantially uglier, in my opinion, than my old lights. So let me reach into my little, struggling here. Maybe I'll put this camera down. So these are my old lights that went up here. So obviously substantially smaller, but they were push button and they had a dimmer built in. So in my head, I thought that was gonna be awesome. So I could reach it, turn it on from standing out here by the door. And these things were great until they weren't. So they just randomly turned on and off. And every time I hit my power switches, not designed to turn on the light, they would turn it on. And for a while, I thought I had like some sort of weird interference issues with that and my fan. But it didn't really make sense. And then, like the longer it went on, the more I realized they just turned on and off totally randomly. So the few times I slept in here, well, a fair amount of times now, they would just turn on in the middle of the night, and then it's like, you got to get out of bed, come up to the front here to turn it off. It was just a total disaster. And then one other problem, because they were on all the time, I think, this one sort of started to melt a little bit. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see that, but it's kind of melted. And the lenses had fallen off of this one. So, and that was only in, whatever, 2 months of them being installed, and how much they turned on. It caused enough issues that it deformed due to heat. I also went through a heat wave, so could be unrelated, but I think it was probably related, because they just turn on and then they don't turn off. Anyways, so those had to change. I think they look uglier, but overall they're totally fine. And obviously I have the one at the back that operates the same way. But it was a necessary upgrade, and I would never buy these things on Amazon ever again. This one's a little deformed too. Anyways, that's that. And I'll show you one other thing I got at the junkyard, which made a world of difference in my van life experience so far. So I replaced this door latch, hinge, handle. This door handle at the junkyard when I was there getting my cup holder thing, my doghouse cover. I also got a new thing, because this door is an absolute nightmare to do, to open before. And some days I couldn't even open it, and it sounds stupid, but I had to like let the van cool like overnight, and it would like shift, I think, and then I could open it in the morning, but I couldn't do it at the time. Anyways, total nightmare. It's a real pain not to be able to get access to your gear through the back. So I bought that thing, and it was the easiest swap ever. You just pull this little piece out here, 4 screws, and then this basically just sits in there like that. There'll be a, oh, let's see if we can do this here. There'll be a bolt here and a bolt here. Easy access through this hole. It took me, honestly, it took me 7 minutes, which is actually less time than it takes me to open that, took me to open that door sometimes, because it was such an issue. So that was a huge improvement so far. Another thing, since we're back here, that's the light. Single, dual. That's the other light. So the final thing, I'm gonna go and install my OBD2 tachometer. I just thought, hold on a second. Yeah, so I just thought overall driving this thing is totally fine, but the one thing this thing doesn't have from the factory is a tachometer. There's no RPM gauge, and I guess I'm just so used to driving with a tach, and like when I'm driving on the highway, like climbing up hills, like steep hills, or mostly what I'm thinking is more for 4x4ing, I would really like to know what RPM I'm at. So it's just handy information to know. So I was gonna install a normal tachometer. I don't know if I should say that in full, but anyways, I was thinking about ordering it. But then I had this brainwave, and I was like, I wonder if I could get an OBD2 plug-in tachometer. And sure enough, I can. So I bought this thing, the AW-Tool OBD2 universal gauge. It's like a reader and gauge. So I bought it on Amazon.ca, and it was $50. And it is incredibly easy to install. I'm just grabbing it out of the bag here. It's incredibly easy to install. I'll show you basically what I have. I have one, it's a USB cable up here. But if you hop down, it is an OBD2 cable. Your port's right there. So I basically just ran this wire up here. I tied it off, plug it in, and like just ran it up here. Super simple. Now I'm gonna throw throw that up there for a second. Plug it in. It's USB, so you do it upside down once every time. Flip it over again. Realize again it's upside down. What am I doing here? I'm struggling. Ooh. There we go. So it's already connecting. I got a little glue pad that came with it, so I'm going to glue that down in a minute. But I just want to, for the purposes of this video, I just sort of want to show you what it does. Connecting failed. This is not a good product endorsement. Actually, it's not a product endorsement, I should say. Oh, stand by. Oh. I'm gonna start up and see what happens. Nothing happens. So I unplugged it and plugged it back in. Now it is reconnecting. Okay, so now it's fully connected that time. I really have no idea what the problem was the first time. So in the spirit of full disclosure, I installed this already and I drove it twice and it worked perfectly every time. So I don't really know what the deal was. I think maybe because I plugged it in while it was not on. That's just a guess. But anyways, you can see my RPM. So that's really all I bought it for, and it's seeming, obviously I have no way to tell if it's accurate or not, but it kind of seems like it would be, like just what I would estimate my RPM are. I think it works, but it also has, if I switch this, fuel consumption, which is, I think, kind of cool to have that on there, because this is a 1998 and I have no features like that. It also has the voltmeter, my odometer, which is not that important. I could do a trip odometer, clock. I don't want to do ignition. I got oil temperature, and I also have regular water temperature, voltmeter, oil pressure. Well, that looks alarming, but obviously I have oil pressure, but I think that maybe means I don't have an oil pressure gauge capable of reading that, maybe. Fuel level input, that's another X. Engine load, whatever that means. I got a bunch of things, fuel pressure, all sorts of stuff, and then I can use this thing. Oh, I got different. I got different home screens, but I'm leaving it on my Tach setting because that's really what I did. Bought it for. Turn that van off. Oh. We're down to 0 RPM. Yeah, so this O-tool thing, I'm actually pretty happy with it. I can scan Another connection failed. So yeah, so I'm pretty happy with this thing so far. Obviously I just have got it, I've driven it around, but it appears to be working good. So I'm pretty stoked to have that. And it'll, I don't know, like I said, I think I want to have a Tach for 4x4ing, which is what I plan on doing in the near future, because what I got here in the mail was my Journeys off-road shifter kit. This is the MP233 transfer case installation kit from Journeys Off-Road to make me a 4x4. All I'm doing now is searching for a transfer case, but I think I found one in Lake Country, BC, so I'm gonna have to go on a little road trip to get it, and that's basically my next step in the process of this van build. And once I have that, I think I'm gonna be able to do some proper overland van lifing. So anyways, stay tuned. Next episode will be transfer case related. Anyways, that's it. Episode 13 of the van build. Nothing too important, but it was just things you got to check off the to-do list. And now they are done. So have a good day. Bye.